Oh, hey. Hey, Alex. So I just saw you there. So it looks like you want to know a bit about the game. So let me kind of show you a bit. So essentially, this is a combat simulator. So I say simulator. It's very story driven, but if you've ever played anything kind of like the Silent Hunter series, it's a submarine game. It's very slow, methodical, strategic. Sort of what I'm going for, but in space. Um, so, for example, like the whole eventual goal is to have an actual model, which this is not. It'll have like missile tubes, rail guns, different things like that that can actually fire, and they'll have different. Each different weapon type will have a different tactic that is best associated with it. Now, of course, some of that's going to kind of be left up to players. For example, missiles are, of course, great for overwhelming enemy defenses, but certain ships may be better at defending against that. Um, so essentially, the focus of the game is to have the players make tactical decisions like that, like what ships they want to face and what ships they want to run from. And it's very much more focused on that kind of gameplay. So, um, with a lot of those kind of games, you sneak up on the enemy to figure out what they are. If it's something you can handle, you take them out. If not, you turn tail and run, but you have to be careful to not get caught. Um, you may try to take on something bigger than you can handle and end up getting flushed out. So that's sort of the gameplay for what I want for this, um, although set in space rather than in the ocean. Um, so there's a bit of story to it, but a lot of that's still writing. This is still very early stages. This is basically prototyping. Um, but yeah, as you can tell, I've done a lot of 3D modeling for the main character ship. Um, but that's basically that, and then the few mechanics I have in the game is what I have so far. So, yeah. One thing I can show you right now is I do have missiles launching. So right now you can target an enemy, and you launch a missile, and the missile tubes will actually open up and launch missiles, and they'll actually dodge the player. So that missile dodged over the player to target. Now, of course, right now I don't have it retargeting for something else, but you launch enough missiles, you can blow up the enemy. And eventually, right now, it's very much physics-based, and that's the way it's going to be in the end game for the player. I don't have debris quite working in the game yet, physics-based, but the eventual goal is to have it very much focused on the using physics to come up with new tactics as well. So, for example, an enemy that's a lot harder for you to fight one-on-one, you might be able to get up to a pretty high speed and take them on. So let me show you an example of that here. So I can fly on by this squadron, and as I'm flying by, in the final game there'll be radar and stuff, so you can try and stay stealthy up until the last second, and then open fire on them, and then bam. And see, now that ship is defenseless because I just blew up both of its point defense cannons, which I currently haven't disabled. They've actually got point defense cannons I haven't disabled so I can practice with the missiles. But yeah. Yeah, definitely. So Silent Hunter is the biggest inspiration, but there's a lot of games that I really draw a lot of inspiration from. They're like naval games, like Cold Waters and stuff like that. And yeah, definitely stealth stuff. So the player will be able to shut off their engines, and actually like there will be actual toggle to turn off like engines, turn off power generation. Basically, try to make the ship as stealthy as possible. And then they'll be able to fly on by the enemy, um, and try to like attack them while they're stealthed. Let's see here. Alright, so I need to fix these turrets here. So let's see, if we fix the turrets, let's see. So what was on previous iteration? So this is, yeah. I'm not worried about continue aim, so let's remove that. And then what is this one doing? This is actually, where am I pulling this from? Aim vector, so that's what I need. Let's go here. And then the autocannon mag is the up and down, so that is going to be the barrel nut. Place. Yeah. So definitely it's going to be closer to Elite Dangerous. There won't be any. So the focus with this is going to be. There may be some stuff that's unrealistic, like the FTL system and stuff. But the focus on the actual ships is going to be relatively realistic. So there's not stealth, but you can maybe upgrade armor plating, so that way you can hide a little easier. The main focus is going to be, you know, turning off your engines, turning off your power generation, anything that can make you have a smaller heat signature. Because essentially what's going to happen is you'll have a detection that as you get closer to an enemy ship and as they get closer to you, the amount of time you're within each other's detection range will take up a timer. It's sort of like builds up a number that, depending on what you've got, will add up to that. So it's like, for example, if I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it, if you sit close to an enemy for a long time, even if you're not making almost any heat signature, there's still the chance they could eventually detect you, but it's going to be much slower and take much longer. But you know, if you burn at them at full speed, it's going to be a lot easier for them to pick up on you. There won't be much sound. Sound's not going to really play much part of it, other than, like, you know, the sound that carries. Because technically sound does travel through space, but it's so minimal, and mostly it travels through explosions. So something I didn't know until I was watching a really interesting video about it is that when explosions go off, they actually make a sound in space, because the gas cloud that they create as it expands, that actually carries this shockwave through space. So that plus the minor amount of atoms that are in space will actually carry sound somewhat. It's extremely muffled and very, very short range. But yeah, no, the focus is going to be heat and sort of like electromagnetic interference. So, for example, you know, power generation in this series could probably be from like fusion drives, and those use a lot of magnetic bottles to kind of move the energy around, and so that creates a lot of electromagnetic distortion, which could be easily detectable if you've got really high strength antennas. So that's something that I want to have. Yeah, definitely something like, you know, powering down all your systems and coasting on by an enemy. You could, especially if you're fast enough, you can get right by them and they'd never even notice you're there. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing. I didn't know about it until I saw that video. It was definitely a pretty interesting watch. I don't remember where I saw it. I think it was on one of those science YouTuber channels, Kyrgyzstan or one of the ones, but they were talking about it. But yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff. But yeah, what I'm working on right now is the turret system, because I've got a turret system for the PDCs, the point defense cannons. This works great. The turret will automatically turn, aim at a missile, and fire. And it's even got angles so I can reduce, like, you know, where it can aim at. But now I'm working on these, which are going to be railguns, which they'll work similarly, except the player will actually be able to control them. And they'll be, you know, you aim and you fire, and they could fly quite a bit of distance. So you could end up, you know, sitting at your enemy range of your enemy's max detection of yourself, like the max you can detect them, and pop off shots. Now that would make it a little easier for them to detect you, but the idea would be like if you're careful and you launch them and are hidden enough, you might be able to get a few lucky shots in. Thanks, man. That's the hope, is that it's interesting enough with that sort of concept, because it's something I don't see a lot of other games doing. Like some do close, but nothing like this where I'm trying to like really focus on the almost submarine warfare style combat. That's the hope, at least. So this looks really ugly, but it's a prototype to test the system. So let's see. I'm trying to remember if I get rid of this. It's all the old system. Oh, I've got a zombie. I've got a big, basically a big GitHub repository project folder that's just full of all of my ideas and everything. So, unless you're talking to Alex, then yeah, you might want to write it down. All right. So let's see here. So this is the yaw. This is the z-axis is the circular, right? Yeah. So this is going to be the pivot replaced here. Yeah, this is the autocannon max. This is the up and down. That's going to be the barrel nut. And then, of course, pivot and barrel nut. Yeah, no worries, man. Hey, if you ever want to see more about this, definitely follow. Basically, this channel is going to become about this, just because I've pulled back from doing Let's Plays, been too busy with work. But if you ever want to see more about this game in the future, definitely subscribe. Of course, I got to plug myself. But yeah, no worries, man. Have a great evening. All right, and awesome. Well, thank you. Yep. And then max promote rectangle degrees. And then yeah, I know. You don't exist, so just because he doesn't exist variable doesn't mean you won't start to. There we go. All right. There we go, and then target aim rotator, which I don't know if I need to add that. Where do I use that in here? Target aim rotator. Okay, so I'm only using it for here to see if I continue aim or if not. Which, yeah, I don't need to worry about that. So let's actually just. All right. Let's see if this works or if this flops like a fish. Hey, there we go. The up and down isn't working, but the left and right is looking much better. Well, it's still kind of jittery. Why is that so jittery? I wonder if it's I wonder if it's how often that's updating. So how often am I calling this? So aim turrets. On every 0.1. So what if we do it every 0.01? And then the up and down. Why are you not working? So let's see. So we're calling get actor transform, barrel net, road location. Wonder if this is the problem. Make rod X. Because I think in the turret, this is the autocannon mag, which is here. So I guess that's about right. Nation focus in. Okay, I guess this is autofocus today. Okay, so how am I? So focus is in, break rotator, set relative, R interp. Ooh, I wonder if it's the R interp that's breaking. Oh, or maybe it's the turret min and max. That's why it's not going up and down. Well, the min, let's set that to like -10. Set this to like what, 25 degrees max. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. And that's checking frequently enough that it's updating pretty well. Sweet. It's a lot less jittery now. Yeah, it's a lot smoother. So let's also switch to bridge cam. Yeah. So when I turn this sideways, so it locks to bridge cam, which that's fine. I don't want the turrets moving too much anyways. Alright, so now we at least got the turrets looking properly. Let's make sure, actually, yeah, perfect. So as you spin, and of course the turn speed. Now I want the turrets to turn a lot slower than the ship can. Give you the benefit of spinning. Woo! Let me see. Hey, there we go, new subscriber. Welcome to the channel. Alright. So let's go here. And let's actually turn the turn speed. Oh, well, it's currently set to 0. So that means it's instantaneous, right? Because turn speed, yeah, interp. Because higher turn speed makes it fast. Wait, higher turn speed should make it faster, right? I guess unless it hits 0, then maybe it's infinitely fast. Let's see. Let's turn this to 1. See if that just suddenly spikes it down to 0, basically. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's why. So 0 is infinite. Well, that's good to know. Let's put this at 100. Yeah, there we go. Send, spin the ship. 100 still pretty fast, although it's much closer. I can feel it at least lagging a little behind. So let's go to here. Let me actually close this turret. That way I don't keep opening it. I'll put about 20. See how that does. Yeah, that's better. Nice. Alright. So then let's work on the next bit. So now we've got our railguns working, and now let's set up their launch system. Get rid of that. Clean this up a little bit. Alright, so that doesn't need to be so spread out. And let's bring this over. So let's see here. Alright, so let's set up a firing button. So as of right now, button 1 does nothing. So actually, let me go right to here. Enter it. Actually, no, it's getting vector. Turn that off. Alright, so then let's just call function fire turret. What this will do is this will fire projectile from the end of the barrel, right? Actually, the barrel has the muzzle, so from the muzzle to get forward vector, it should always be X, right? Yeah. Well, not X, but so in barrel, get socket location, and we'll call that muzzle. Spawn active for class. Alright. Let me make sure I'm doing this right, because previous turret had it as well. Yeah, it's a projectile parent. So yeah, I did the same here, but I did firing chamber. It's a muzzle. It's more accurate. But oh well. And then I broke it, did the lock and rotation, and then returned it. So yeah, I'll probably do that same thing. Grab these. So I got. Why did I guess rotation is important to have. So yeah, I don't want socket location. It's get socket transform, and then muzzle, and then I'm gonna pop that down here. Alright, and let's drop in this, and boom, boom. Alright, and time to work on the projectile now. So this is the projectile parent. Honestly, I kind of dig this one. This one's good. So the only thing I want to change is some of the speeds and stuff and the look of it. Actually, speed's probably fine. Yeah, once you just want to change the size. So create child. This is going to be rail. Call it projectile child railgun round. So this will have inherited all of the main rounds stuff. So the on collision, does it inherit the on overlap? That's actually a good question. I don't know if that does. Well, the only way to find out is to actually fire that. So, so let's see, variables. It's weird. Because I guess this one, the projectile range. I mean, that's not the big deal. Damage. I guess I go in here. So this one, I thought this one had blue missive. I guess not. Okay, well, let's make this one larger. So let's scale this up to 0.1, 1. Oh, let's see, make it 0.2, 0.2. So basically a big capsule. That makes that like a 0.4. Do we have gravity enabled on this one? I didn't think so. Technically says enable gravity, but I don't think gravity is technically enabled. It's actually in the projectile movement. Gravity isn't enabled, I don't believe, right? Yeah, it's gravity scale 0. So, alright. Cancel. Oh, that's because I have not selected this. I want to go railgun, projectile child, railgun round. So let's see. When firing turrets, we just call this. So to fire turret, player pawn. Let me actually expand this out. Left mouse button pressed, and then just call to for all for each loop of get children, be all child actors. There we go. So for all child actors, we're gonna call to est rail gun turret and fire. So let's see. Yeah, there we go. That looks good to me. Yeah, it actually works. Okay, sweet. What I probably want to do though is win these railgun rounds.
Woo, sneeze. Oh,
Man, was not expecting that. Alright, so on projectile impact, see what we want to do is we want to call whenever this collides with something, because even when it's a smaller version, we want to call the spawn emitter at location, explosion. I think we can break the hit result and get the location. There's fancy ways to do rotation, but it's explosions in 3D, so I don't think that matters. The impact we do want to take based on the projectile scale, right? Because it's the So projectile get scale. World scale, I guess. Let's find out. See how this looks. Oh wait, I think I need to do it for both these, but grab this. Shift on this as well. Okay, man, gotta hit the once. Okay, I'll move it later. There we go. Alright, so let's try this. Get world scale. Oops. See if that not only fires, but also let's just put this here like this. Let's try that. it's still not spawning the emitter like it should be. Oh, I wonder if it's, yeah. Impact point, I think, is what I want. Let's try that. It's like it's not actually. Yeah, it's not spawning the projectile. I wonder if that's because it's on the railgun. Let's pull this and just try to print string it. See if it's actually firing this off. Yeah, it's calling it. It's just not actually firing off the explosion. Let's see. Let's make this huge just to make sure there's not something going on with that. Not quite that huge, but. Not what I meant to paste. Okay, well that's somewhat working. 100's a little too big, but it's at least in the right direction. Let's scale it down by 10, just to see. Make sure it's spawning in the right location. Oh, that means it's not spawning in the right location. Okay. There's our problem. Yeah, it's spawning there. Why is it spawning in almost like a 0-0 location? Hmm. Wonder if it's because it's a sweep result. What if I delete this and then just projectile? What's that? Set ourselves. Get actor. Get location. That's not gonna parent though. World location. Could be. Try this. Okay, that looks more correct. So let's shrink a dink these down back to what they should be. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Then what we want to do is to from there, I think now we can set in the scale to give us sort of scale be based on the projectile size. Yeah. as you know, it's gonna explode based on what it says. Now, the actual collision mesh is gonna be better. The current one, you can actually technically, I think you can shoot an invisible wall like somewhere right here. Maybe not. Oh yeah, there it goes. There's a visible wall because it's basically the mesh. I try to make the box as small as possible. There's a mesh used to calculate the physics for the object, so yeah, it's gonna be a lot slower fire rate, but that's at least a start. All right, so got the railguns now looking at the correct place and firing. So that's a good start. Alright, so what else can we do now? It's getting pretty late. It's about 1:30 here. Let me take a look. What do I have on my list of things to do? Okay. So I'm gonna wait to do the detection system until the list. The railguns in my sight. I'm not too worried about that right now. I'll worry about the line of sight later. I have started that work. So yeah, a lot of these. I mean, I guess I can try the impulse. I can try to go for the impulse. See if that's something I can easily do without getting too exhausted. So let's see. So the best way to do this would be the railguns. So when you fire, I want to say get parent actor, cast to player on, and let's see. We want to add impulse, so let's do it kind of like how we do with the engines. So we'll do like a burst of speed here, add impulse. The target is the base. Get right vector, grab all this, player thrust, but we're not worried about, we're actually not going to do player thrust. So yeah, negative goes in there, so let's control C this and go to railgun turret. Essentially, we're going to do the same thing. But here, instead of this base, we'll get base. That goes there. That goes there. Right. So in the player, when this is called, so this bottom one I actually don't need to worry about because that's where I times by the negative for going reverse. Well, actually, so if we're firing it, so if the railgun's fired to the left, we actually want to move it to the right. So we want to take the angle that we're going and actually go reverse of that. So what's the best way to do this? We actually want to get the vector, not of the base, but of the railgun. So that way we are adding the impulse in that correct direction. We already went on 10 times by like, I think it's like 10,000 or something is what my player thrust is. So we'll copy this because this is sort of like a, you know, a pretty good estimation for at least a quick burst of speed. In fact, we'll add extra 0 because it's going to be very minimal when we fire, because it's only going to fire this like once. Whereas the other way is press and hold. Alright, so, and instead of getting right vector, we want to get the turret's forward vector. So we're still going to apply it there to that. But the actual impulse is going to be from here. We're going to go just pivot. I mean, doesn't matter, I don't think, which one we take it from, because these are all turned. So pivot's technically where the directional left and right comes from. But then we also want to know about the up and down. So the very last thing that's like, the barrel is where the recoil is coming from. So we're going to do the barrel, I think. Get the forward vector. And then times that by that. Plug that into that. And that should get us a velocity every time we fire. So let's try that. Yeah, it's going to start moving us, but it's moving us in the wrong direction. So it's moving us towards the way we're firing, which we want to do the opposite. We want to do it negative. So let's times this all by the 10,000, but in negative direction. So what this will do is, as you start firing, so let's just open fire directly left, press and hold. I guess it's press 1, so 17. So yeah. Let's see, let's put brakes on. Let's try to fire with brakes on. So it still outmaneuvers the brakes, but it's low enough that the brakes recompensate. Nice, nice. And then one thing we want to do is we want to add rotation depending on where the turrets are in alignment to the ship. So that way if they're on top and bottom and they open fire, it'll just go straight sideways. So it'd be the easiest way to do that. So wanting to add, so this imparts some rotational directionality. So let's see if we went like this. Gonna move in that direction, but we want to rotate slightly in that direction. How are we handling rotation? Yeah, roll. So roll speed is over time. So roll base is the current. It's set to default to 0. If in turn 2, so current is 0, turn speed. So if you press and hold this, we're timesing that by the turn speed, so roll base. So what if we just set our current roll speed depending on which ones are firing, top or bottom, but how would you detect that? So let's see, current roll speed. So I want it to have some kind of like movement, like oof. So we'll set current roll speed to get current roll speed plus what, like 50, I guess. Let's see. So we'll start with that. Okay, but that only fires the once. It doesn't actually. Doesn't do like this does, where it like bleeds off. How would I go back to that? I guess I could call in here and then just like set. roll base, 2 times the roll base is the target. So can I add an impulse at an angle like that? No, this is just a vector. Do I want beneath? I think. See, that just doesn't. That I'd want it to roll. May have to come back to this later. So I think I'm going to add that to the list. So I'm going to say the impulse part is done. Leave that to the completed. Of course, GitHub doesn't like me today. Oh, yeah. There we go. So finish is adding impulse to railguns. But I need to add a new note that not finished is add rotational impulse to ship when railguns fire. Alright, there we go. So I got that there. That's something I want to do. I'm not sure how I want to handle that, but there are ways to do it. There's always some way to do it, but just how difficult it'll be will be the big question. How pretty it'll look is also a big question. So, alright. So there we go. So yeah. It's looking pretty good so far. Let's lock on. Firing missiles. Yeah, targeting reticle is kind of garbage, but oh, that looks good. Difficult but fun. It's a goal at least. Alright. Yeah, I think that's going to be pretty much it for tonight. Thank y'all who did show up to the stream. That was awesome to get some interaction with y'all. Hopefully, my plan is to do a lot more of this. I'm going to be working on the game anyway, so might as well interact with some of y'all while I do it. Get some opinions, some advice. But if y'all have any questions or want to say anything else or ask anything, definitely leave a comment down below. Hopefully I was pretty clear earlier on the idea for the game, so maybe that'll be interesting to some of y'all. But otherwise, have a wonderful rest of y'all's day, and peace out.